Number 10.
On the 8th of January 2000, a man scavenging for papers behind a spice bazaar in Istanbul made a horrifying discovery. As he rummaged through the rubbish, he noticed that many of the papers were covered in blood. Curious and likely alarmed, he dug deeper, only to uncover something truly nightmarish: a severed human leg. Police were quickly called to the scene and began combing the area for more remains, but no other body parts were ever found. An autopsy revealed that the leg belonged to a well-groomed young woman estimated to be between 26 and 27 years old. What shocked investigators most was the precision of the dismemberment. The leg had been clearly cut from the hip, as though by someone with surgical skill. Beyond that, little information about the case was ever made public. The rest of the woman's remains have never been located. But that wasn't the end of the horror. Between 2000 and 2001, a total of 8 severed legs were discovered in and around Istanbul. Only one victim was ever identified. Most of the victims were women, with just 2 confirmed male victims. Investigators noted the same disturbing pattern each time: the clean, surgical cuts and the ability of the killer to strike in busy areas without being noticed. Authorities also believed that many of the victims may have been sex workers, people who were often targeted because they were less likely to be reported missing right away. By 2021, the statute of limitations on the case had expired. The police officially shelved the investigation. But recently, speculation has reignited interest in the case. Some now believe that a man named Mustafa Murat Ayhan, who was convicted for brutally murdering and dismembering a college student, may have also been behind the severed leg killings from 2 decades earlier. However, with the case now legally closed, it is unlikely Ayhan will ever be questioned about those crimes, leaving one of Istanbul's most disturbing mysteries unsolved. What do you think? Was Ayhan responsible, or is the real killer still out there?
Number 9.
It was early morning on the 19th of May 2000 when the crew of a small boat docking at a port in Istanbul heard something unusual. A faint thumping sound against the side of their vessel. Curious, the captain went to check. Floating in the water beside the boat was what he first assumed to be a mannequin's leg, but when he poked it with a hook, he realised with horror it was real, a human leg. He immediately called the authorities. While waiting for them to arrive, one of the crew members spotted something else drifting nearby, a second leg. Police recovered both limbs and searched the surrounding waters for more remains, but nothing else was ever found. An autopsy revealed that the legs had been submerged in salt water for up to 10 days. The level of decomposition made it impossible to tell whether they had been removed with surgical precision, like in other cases. Investigators combed through local missing persons reports, and soon they found a potential match. The physical description fit a local sex worker. Authorities tried to contact her family for confirmation, but they were never located. This grim discovery was not an isolated case. Between 2000 and 2001, the severed legs of 8 different people were found across Istanbul and nearby areas. It is believed that most of the killer's victims were sex workers, vulnerable targets who could disappear without immediate notice. By 2021, the statute of limitations had expired, and the Turkish police officially closed the case, leaving one of the country's most disturbing serial crimes unsolved. But recently, suspicion has turned towards a man named Mustafa Murat Ayhan, convicted of brutally murdering and dismembering a college student in a disturbingly similar manner. Was this the work of a single calculated killer, or something even darker lurking in the city at the time?
Number 8.
On the 7th of December 2000, a young woman's legs were discovered by high school students in Istanbul. She was between 22 and 24 years old. Between 2000 and 2001, the severed legs of 8 people were found in the areas in and around Istanbul, with only one victim being identified. It was often noted that the perpetrator had clean surgical precision when severing the legs from the bodies of their victims and was able to lure away a victim in the area that experienced high traffic during the day. Additionally, it is suspected that most of the serial killer's victims were sex workers. As of 2021, the statute of limitations on the case has run out, and the Turkish police have shelved the case indefinitely. Despite the expiration of the statute of limitations, it has recently been suspected that Mustafa Murat Ayhan, a man who brutally murdered and dismembered a college student before discarding her remains in different areas, is responsible for the murders from 2000 and 2001.
Number 7.
On the 12th of March 2001, another grim discovery was made in Istanbul. A young woman's leg was found stuffed inside a bag near the Ukapani district. She was believed to be between 20 and 22 years old. What stood out to investigators was the precision of the cut. The leg had been cleanly severed at the knee, suggesting that whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. But the horror didn't end there. Just 50 meters away, authorities found another bag, this one containing the leg of a male victim. The young woman was never identified, but investigators strongly suspected that she, like several others before her, had fallen victim to a serial killer operating in and around Istanbul at the time. Years later, even though the statute of limitations on the case had expired, a new name emerged: Mustafa Murat Ayhan. Ayhan, already convicted of a brutal member and dismemberment, had become a prime suspect in what many now call the Istanbul Severed Leg Murders. Yet, with the case now closed by law, it's unlikely he'll ever face questioning, leaving another victim's story frozen in mystery.
Number 6.
On the 12th of March 2001, a horrifying discovery was made near the Ukapani district of Istanbul. Inside a discarded bag, authorities found a severed leg of a young man, believed to have been between 25 and 30 years old. Unlike some of the other victims, his leg appeared to have been roughly cut at the knee, suggesting less precision or perhaps a rushed disposal. But just 50 meters away, investigators found another bag. Inside it was the leg of a young woman, carefully and cleanly severed. Both victims were believed to have fallen prey to the same serial killer who had been haunting Istanbul for over a year. But years later, one name began to resurface: Mustafa Murat Ayhan. Many now believe he could be the same person responsible for the Istanbul leg murders. But with the case closed by law, he may never be questioned, and the truth behind one of Turkey's most chilling mysteries may remain buried forever.
Number 5.
On the 20th of July 2001, another gruesome discovery was made, this time along the Maltepe coastline in Istanbul. A passerby spotted what looked like debris washed up on the shore, but as authorities arrived, they realised it was far worse. It was the severed leg of a man. Forensic examination revealed that the leg had been roughly cut at the knee, lacking the surgical precision seen in some of the earlier cases. Tests also showed that the victim had a high level of alcohol in his system at the time of death. Investigators believe he was yet another victim of the serial killer, responsible for a string of dismemberment cases that had terrorised Istanbul since the year 2000. Even though the statute of limitations on the case has since expired, one name continues to haunt the investigation: Mustafa Murat Ayhan. But with the case now closed by law, it's unlikely he'll ever be questioned, leaving the Maltepe victim and so many others without justice.
Number 4.
On the 14th of March 2005, a woman's body was discovered near a university junction along the Barca Ring Road. She had been shot to death. The victim was estimated to be between 30 and 40 years old, standing around 165 centimetres tall and weighing approximately 60 kilograms. When found, she was dressed in a red scarf, a brown velvet coat, a red and white sweater, a black skirt and boots. Her appearance suggested she may have been caught off guard, perhaps on her way somewhere, before her life was abruptly taken. Very little else is known about her identity or the motive behind her murder. No public record of an arrest or a suspect has ever surfaced. Like so many other mysterious cases in Turkey during this time, her story remains unsolved, her name still unknown, and her death unanswered.
Number 3.
On the 20th of October 2010, a shepherd tending his livestock near a quiet village in Vize stumbled upon a chilling sight on the side of the road: the body of a woman. She was believed to be between 30 and 35 years old, standing around 150 centimetres tall and weighing around 70 kilograms. She had black hair and was found wearing a colourful t-shirt and pyjamas, clothing that suggested she may have been attacked unexpectedly, perhaps even in her own home or while resting. Investigators later determined that she had suffered a severe blow to the head from a blunt object, but conflicting reports also stated that she had been shot. The exact cause of death remains unclear, as does her story. No suspect was ever publicly identified, and her murder has remained another haunting mystery lost in time.
Number 2.
On the 9th of November 2015, a 32-year-old painter was working inside a multi-storey car park in Izmir when he noticed something strange: a foul odour seeping from an elevator that had been out of service for years. Curious and needing to paint both the inside and outside of the structure, he decided to investigate. When he pried open the elevator doors, he was met with a horrifying sight: the decomposing body of a man long forgotten. Police arrived at the scene and confirmed the remains were in an advanced state of decomposition. The victim was male, and experts estimated he had been dead for between 5 and 10 years. Authorities noted that the elevator had been abandoned since 2005, suggesting the man may have died not long after that time. Forensic investigators found several unsettling details. The man was missing a foot, had multiple prosthetic teeth, and in his possessions was 6 100,000 Turkish lira banknotes, a currency that had been discontinued in 2001 and was no longer redeemable by 2011. The body was sent to the Izmir Forensic Medical Institute for examination and autopsy. However, the results revealed no signs of trauma and no clear cause of death. Authorities announced that a more detailed autopsy would be conducted, but to this day the man's identity and circumstances of his death remain a mystery.
Number 1.
On the 3rd of July 2021, authorities discovered the body of an unidentified man in Crete, located in Adipazarı. But in response to this tragic finding, the police have initiated a thorough investigation aimed at uncovering the identity of the deceased. To assist in this effort, a detailed sketch of the man was produced at the anthropology laboratory, capturing his features in hopes of generating leads. The police department has since made this sketch public, appealing to the community for assistance. They have urged anyone who may recognise the individual or who has had relatives go missing recently to come forward and contact the police, emphasising the importance of the community involvement in solving this heartbreaking case.